This may be single-handedly the worst debate performance of a national political stage I've ever seen. The only thing that rivals it's John Fetterman with Dr. Oz. Biden was worse than
No, no,
Fetterman?
no, no. Biden did worse than Fetterman.
Mr. Wilson, how you doing? Not much. What'd you think? Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. That's that is the appropriate response. I mean, I don't know if you heard me talking, Andrew, but the big takeaway for me is we could talk about just how bad Biden is and the cognitive decline, but I think you go a level higher than that. Think of all the people me and you have debated, but more importantly than that, all of the people that wield institutional and political power that have lied straight to our face for 4 years and told us that Biden didn't have cognitive decline. And now they have to, as they try to replace Biden desperately now, they're going to ask us to believe them again. Okay, we just bullshitted you in the most obvious lie in history for 4 years.
It remains to be seen if they replace Biden or don't replace him. That remains to be seen. But the thing that's the most interesting about this is a lot of Trump's performance here really suffered because he was debating with a toddler.
Yeah.
And so there's no great way to look good. You've probably experienced this yourself when you debate with somebody who's really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible for you to look good.
That's absolutely right.
It's really difficult. You can't tangle over the issues. They can get kind of bogged down in these kind of bizarre structured thoughts that are hard to unravel and this kind of thing. And I think that Trump actually would have done better if he had been up against Biden at his best.
I agree with that.
I think he would have done better if Biden was at the same performance that he was the last cycle. I think that that Trump would have really trounced him much harder. The rhetoric would have been much more severe, and that was a missed opportunity for Trump. Was when they got to the age section and they were discussing whether or not, this guy would be viable at his age. I mean, Trump could have really dug in on that and said, "Hey, listen, you stupid bastard! You can't even speak. You can't make a coherent sentence. Nobody understands what you're even fucking talking about, lunatic."
Well, there's two things,
and that would have been remembered. It would have been remembered if he had hit that.
There's two things to say on that. One, he did it a little, right? I thought the line of the debate was when Trump said, "I don't understand what he tried to say there at the end, and I don't think he does either." That was fucking epic. It was subtle, it was quick, but I laughed my ass off.
Yeah, but the reason you think that that's such a good line is because the entire time people are watching it, that's what they're thinking.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, okay, so hit him with more of that.
That's true.
Right? Yes, it's low-hanging fruit. Yes, it's right out in the open. Yes, it's obvious, but people are really fucking stupid.
So
They're really stupid. So hit him with the obvious.
So there's three potentials. It was one that Trump was a little off his game because of how bad Biden was. That's definitely a possibility. The second, and my journalist friend Todd Bartley called me, and this was his theory. He thinks that Trump realized early, like, this is the kill shot. If I go all out this debate, Biden ain't going to be the nominee tomorrow, right? So I'm going to hold back a little because I want them to keep this bastard around. So I'm not going to spike the ball as hard as possible right now because if I just end him here, that'll be that. That's a possibility. I think that maybe a combination of those two things, but mostly the third thing which has happened, which is Trump's goal here isn't to pick up people like me and you. Unfortunately, he's going to have to pick up a lot of people that don't like his personality quirks, but just see how bad for the country Joe Biden's been. That's how Trump wins. Trump wins if there's a bunch of people that say, I can't stand this bastard. I think he's crude. I think he's boorish, but my God, at least I could afford to buy groceries when the dude was in office. Who is this other guy? He's so bad. And unfortunately, those people were so snowflakey and weak-willed, many of them, that I think if Trump would have came out, he would have sounded mean to them. Oh, he was just being mean to Biden.
I think that there's decidedly fewer people who are on the fence about who they're voting for than you think.
Maybe true.
I don't think there's nearly as many. And I think that bombastic Trump is the Trump that even the independent loves because he's interesting.
I agree.
Right?
You
want to get an independent voters vote? Be interesting. Start with that. Start with, well, I know who you are. I know what you're about. Your name is a household name. I hear it every single day, whether I want to or not. I mean, that's the way to pique their interest. Start with being interesting. Trump, and I think he would have been much more of his bombastic, over the top, kind of brutal self if I don't think he expected that sort of mental retardation from
Yeah.
Biden.
Well,
I don't think that he expected that level. And what they did, I was viewing the setup and kind of reviewing the rules. So what CNN, what the Communist News Network did, what the Crescent News Network did, was they took all of the traits of Trump that could be considered a threat in a debate. So you and I, we can go over strengths and weaknesses super quick, right? Strength one, Trump, not a skilled or gifted debater when it comes to making kind of striking points, right? Very gifted, though, when it comes to rhetoric,
yes.
right? And kind of smacking a person over the head with some stupid shit that they said in a zinger that everybody remembers. So what CNN did is they took the strengths of Trump and took them away by saying, okay, we're going to make this a limited exchange debate where it just moves between you. You're called on your turn, you're called on your turn. Very little in the way of exchange, and that's where Trump shines. And they took that portion out. And so Trump kind of was at the mercy of listening to this incoherent ramble. And there was no way to kind of make these cogent, striking points back, because what are you hitting back against? When Biden did make a cohesive point, when he was coherent, especially on Ukraine. So I kind of disagree with your analysis. You said it was about immigration. I do think it was to a degree. But I think that Trump saying, look, I'd call Putin and this war will be over tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, as president-elect, that's a major promise.
He's full of shit, by the way,
right?
on a lot of that. But yeah. I mean, it's braggadocious in a good way, I think, though. Like, because
his point is to just drive home, like, look, this shit isn't gonna fly under my watch.
Right.
Okay. Ukraine's not gonna come begging, and Russia's gonna behave, or else, right? I'm the Trump, and I will put an end to it. But the point is that what he drew there was something that I think was more important than anything else, which is that, hey, under my administration, we didn't have wars.
Yeah, I agree.
We didn't have new wars. We didn't start wars. We weren't out fighting wars, and I was drawing people out of wars, and I don't like that shit. And no wars, and no America in war. And as it's turned out, well, go figure, the Israel-Palestinian war, not popular, and the Ukraine-Russia war, not popular.
No, I agree.
Right?
I think that, listen, like, Trump could have done better, and no excuses, right? Here's the deal. I mentioned this last night. I was like, Trump needs, if 0's getting your ass crushed, 50's it was an even debate, and 100 is you crushed your opponent, Trump needed to hit it like a 68 to a 70, because if he won too big, I thought it would assure they get rid of Biden. But the truth is, and you know this, if you have any competency in debate whatsoever, you're there to crush your fucking opponent. That's that. Mm-hmm. No excuses. If you
sweep the leg.
That's right. If you take your foot off the pedal, you might just find yourself losing. So you go for it. And I know me and you have both. Now, let's be clear. Neither of us have such an ego that we're claiming that any debates we've done have been on the stage like we saw tonight. Of course not. But we've both been in debates where you're treating it seriously. Like, you remember when I debated Polly People and you had to end the debate? I walked into that debate treating it seriously. And within 5 minutes, it was evident, like, there is an incapability for a coherent conversation on that side of the debate. It is not a worthwhile conversation because
it's not possible.
They couldn't follow the most basic logical steps and facts. And it does bring my performance down. This is also true of the game of college debate, right? One of the strategies, if I was debating someone that I knew would beat me 99 out of 100 times, you know what my coach's strategy was? Fuck it, make the debate as messy as possible. Because the messier you make it, the more you'll throw them off kilt. And if you know that you're both as good as possible, they're going to beat you 99 out of 100 times, well, then only be 80% as good and be intentionally all over the map, because that makes your opponent say, wait, what the fuck? What's going on here? And that, to me, is it would have been hard for Trump, because think about it. Some of the questions to Trump would be like, well, what would you do about opioid? And Trump's clearly going to talk about that and have an answer. You might say with the January 6th shit, he doesn't want to talk about that anyways. Okay, fair point. But with the opioid stuff, you know he has a lot. But he's still answering Biden's rambling, incoherent mess, where Biden's just like citing, like he has no idea what he's talking about. It's like they tried for a week to put him on a drug cocktail and put all of these stats and stuff in his head. And then when it comes out at the end, it's just fucking garbled mush. And so Trump's trying to sort through it like, wait a minute, this guy said this, but that's bullshit. And then he, like two times ago, he said this.
It was all those points though, where, I mean, every time Biden made a gaffe, if Trump had calmly said, okay, I'm going to give a response to this, but I want to let you know, I can't respond to my opponent because I can't understand what he's saying.
And that's what he should have done. And you could do it in a way that's like Trump could have went for the jugular first. And then I find this to be very persuasive, right? This is something I've done in debates where you say things like this, like, look, at this point, it's getting sad. It really is. I'm sorry that they're doing this to you, Joe. No one watching can understand you. I'm trying my best to help you out by interpreting what I think you're trying to say and respond to it. And I'm not even saying this to be a dick. I'm just saying we have no idea what you're talking about. And it's sad.
Yeah, we don't
and this
know.
is why the world doesn't respect us.
Every single time, Joe gave an incoherent answer, which was, I mean, it was a significant, this, by the way, can we agree on this? This was the worst performance by a presidential nominee. Well, not nominee. I mean, at this point, he's the incumbent, right?
Yep.
This is the worst that's ever in history. There's never been anything this bad.
Not only that is absolutely true. And the ones that I've seen, and I've seen many, this may be single-handedly the worst debate performance of a national political stage I've ever seen. The only thing that rivals it's John Fetterman with Dr. Oz. And I would think right now that Biden was worse than Fetterman.
No. Biden did worse than Fetterman.
But that might be recency bias. I'd have to go back and watch the Fetterman performance
just
to double check.
Yeah, go back and watch. I'm telling you.
Someone name me. Someone name me.
Worse.
I mean, my God. Even what was it? Remember Marianne Williams, like the Soul Crystal chick and shit? She sounded more coherent than Biden. Right? Like even these.
She did.
I mean, for God's sake, some of the third party debates you see with these crazy ass, progressive libertarians and shit. At least they're making sentences that the average person can understand, even if their policies are dog shit.
I knew Biden's performance would be abysmal. Everybody kind of expected that. And so the hope is just, if the expectation is it's abysmal, if you do a little bit better than abysmal, you performed well. Right? That's the way that it works on these stages. In this case, though, this is the worst in history.
Yeah, he did.
This is the worst. This is the worst in his. I mean, I don't think you'll be able to even go through the historic record and find a debate of this scale that was as bad as Biden. I don't even think it's possible. I don't think that there is one.
Listen, can I say something real quick to my audience? I can't believe. So I know I've put clips up that my editor Black Elk put up of my mock debate with Andrew. I tried to put in the description of those clips that it was a mock debate, but just to fucking clear any confusion with my audience, no, Andrew Wilson is not voting for Biden. He was pretending and playing devil's advocate in his defense of Biden to help him prepare for a debate. He does not believe that Biden is a better candidate than Trump. He is voting for Trump. So just to clear that up for any, because there's a couple people in the chat like, well, a couple days ago, Andrew was saying he would vote for Biden. No, that is not what Andrew was doing. He was doing devil's advocate. So I just want to make sure.
That's never happened. But it does occur to me that the people who are saying that might be as stupid as Biden. So
I felt bad because when I put
that possibility,
when I put that first clip out, my editor put you with like blue hair and shit, and I noticed one or two comments under the video was like, "What the hell, Andrew fell off," and I was like, I have it listed right in this description. The very first words, like, note, clearly Andrew doesn't support Biden. He's playing devil's advocate. This was a mock debate. And still, I guess some people don't read the description and maybe they don't know you well enough, or they thought
they just
were on a bender or something.
Let's be fair to them. They can't probably read it all.
Right.
But they're using voice to text. That's how their text comes through on YouTube. They don't actually type it because they can't spell. They're mouth breathing retards. I mean, that's the only thing I can think that anybody would ever think that Andrew Wilson, who's been the staunchest supporter of Trump,
more than me,
out of anybody in the political sphere, would ever vote for Biden.
Yeah.
My prediction still is that Trump will lose.
Me too.
I mean, that's still my prediction.
Me too.
But the thing is that I don't think that they're gonna, it's gonna be fair. I don't think that they're gonna give him a legitimate election. So that's my take.
John the
But
Wise
thing
Tushy, real quick here for $10 says, rocking the Crucible gear from the Crucible Live Grift Store. Funniest memes ever from the CNN debate will be so freaking great and endless. Even CNN memeing itself. I'm almost guaranteeing, Andrew, you're going to do a show here in the near future with a lot of memes.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have we're gonna do an entire debate breakdown. But the thing is and we do a lot of memeing on the Crucible, and I'm sure that we'll put some stuff in the worst grift store ever. The grift that is so bad that when you send money in for the product, you get the product.
Yeah, what a
it's
grift!
The worst grift in the history of mankind. But anyway, back to this. I think that Trump there was disadvantages here that I would not have foreseen. And I really think that the major disadvantage was that when you're arguing with a 4-year-old, you can't look good.
Yeah, I agree. Spiro for $5, thank you, says, it wasn't Andrew saying he'd vote for Biden. That was Bartholomew, Andrew's leftist degen doppelbanger. He's a doppelbanger. That's good. Andrew, I pulled up here the betting markets since the debate has started. I don't know if you can see this. It is absolutely hilarious. Since the debate has started, Biden has went from, I don't know what it was, but he's lost 25.3% in the course of the debate. He's now only a 58.9% chance of being the Dem nominee. He lost 25%. So that would have put him at what? Like he was at 83%, 90 something percent to be the nominee, and he's down to 58. And we're like weeks out from the convention. That's how bad. I'm not watching it, but I heard people saying, at least one person on the CNN panel said, time for Biden to step down. You could listen to me and Andrew, and I think, and people like us, and I hope you do, and understand that both Andrew and I have bias, but we try our best to limit that bias and be objective. So I think our analysis of these things are better than almost anyone's.
I mean, it's possible. It is possible that they move to replace Biden, but it seems like it's pretty late in the game to do that.
Yeah.
And who would they replace him with?
Newsom, Michelle Obama.
Well, they could. I don't think
Hillary.
Michelle would run. I don't think Hillary would run. I think Newsom would do it. But Newsom he has a whole different ball of wax of problems.
Yeah.
Than what Biden has. Not the least of which being that he's fucking Gavin Newsom, right?
Yeah, California's a shit show. That's easy to run against.
Not only a shit show, but just the whole pictures of him out having dinner with his family while he locked California up, stuff like this. People have not even begun to meme on Newsom, and Biden is still the devil,
Yep. Couple more
Democrat strategists who are sitting around in a table right now in a smoky room, who are trying to figure out what to do. I think that their move is going to be to stop future debates and instead to move over towards campaigning for Biden and trying to get as much positive press around his future speeches as possible.
And that's certainly an option that they'll have. I think they'll replace him. But yeah, that's the other option they have. The real truth is none of this matters as long as you can harvest ballots in the right way.
Yeah.
So that's where the energy is going to be put. A couple of super chats real quick.
Counts them wins.
Yep. Zen's forehead for $4.99 says, Andrew, did you get that cold that's been going around lately? I think that's in reference to they're trying to say Biden had a cold.
Bro, I've had it for the last 4 years.
Yeah. David for $2 super chat says, do you think CNN did a good job of hosting? I thought that there was bias that was evident in particularly the way the questions were formatted, and it seemed, at least at first, there was a lot of leaving Biden get the last word. So they had this sort of optional, it was like, we'll ask a question, then a minute rebuttal, then a minute to come back, and then an optional minute rebuttal. And it seemed like Biden was getting that optional. However, I will say this. There's always going to be some amount of bias, and all things considered, it was not near as bad as it could have been. So if this was
I disagree. So let me give you my point of disagreement. I think that based on how limited the cognitive ability was of Joseph Retard Biden in that debate, that had we seen what the full debate was planned to be, that bias would have been 10 times more obvious than it was.
That very well may be true. I think that, I don't know if you heard me saying this. I think that some of the rules that were designed to stymie Trump ended up benefiting him. I mean, Trump, it could quite have been the most masterful debate performance ever if Trump would have just constantly been like, you know what, I'm going to yield my time to leave Biden keep talking. Let's hear what he comes up with next, Mr. Incoherent Rambler. Go ahead. Here's another 2 minutes, sir. So the idea that they were...
just laughed. And then just laughed. Just laughed and been like, what the hell are you even talking about? No one knows what you're saying.
Yeah. So the idea that if his mic wouldn't have been shut off while Biden was speaking, maybe Trump starts interjecting more and the average person doesn't get to hear just how incoherent Biden is. So ironically, I think those rules, really benefited Trump at the end. And, again, everybody's looking for something different out of their candidate. I'm a man. I want someone who's a fighter. I want someone who talks like a real fucking man and will say, fuck these pricks. They're a bunch of corrupt I like that. I know many people don't. I know there are people that want someone to sound presidential. Regardless of what you think, there are moments tonight you could say Trump was like a little jokey and jovial, but I thought that he came across as pretty likable. Even to that average person,
he came across as more likable. I agree, yeah. But I think he would have been 10 times more likable if he had been a bit more bombastic.
I agree. That's what I personally would have liked to have seen. But I know there would have been people out there that would have said, no, that same old Trump dick, he can't control himself and blah, blah, blah. I still think that's what he should have done. I think that's why I'm saying he got a B or a B minus.
Sure.
But
I think the focus here needs to revolve on the attack of Biden. The one big thing that nobody's talking about yet, but will probably be the headlines in the morning, and somebody who knows which pundit will bring this up first, but I was noticing it the entire debate. Biden's verbal gaffes weren't even the problem. They were bad, but some of them were recoverable, right? But it was the vacancy in his eyes and his body language.
Yes.
He had a complete and total clouded look on his face, like he was checked out.
My wife said it. And, Courtney's not the biggest follower of politics, and she was watching it with me, and the first thing she said when Biden came walking out, she's like, he looks like basically he has a stick up his ass. He looks like a mummy. He's glass-eyed. Looks like he, and I'm sorry to say, and I truly from the bottom of my heart mean this, I used to go to nursing homes a lot when I was young because my grandparents were in the nursing home, and you see that look with elderly people in a nursing home.
Yeah, all the time.
It's
mom,
sad.
That's all she did. She ran nursing homes, right?
Yeah.
That's what her job was. She was a director of nursing in those places. Okay, so I'd been in, I don't know how many old folks homes, but many. And yes, but the thing that got me, right, I could have maybe let all of it slide until we got to the half smile.
Yeah.
Until we got to the part where Biden was half. Now that half smile, that's the look when the relatives come to visit you and you know that you know them and you know that you kind of remember who they are, but you can't place it. And so while they're talking, you just kind of put this half smile on your face and you look at them vacantly until somebody tells you, hey, this is little Jolie and you haven't seen her for the last 15 years, Grandpa.
Yep. And I think that one of the ways that CNN tried to save Biden was early in the debate, they were big on the split screen. So when Biden was talking, they'd show Trump, and Trump's like smirking and he makes facial expressions, but he looks like a normal human being. When Trump was talking, Biden was checked out, dude. Like mouth half agape, like you're saying, glassy-eyed look. And I think CNN realized that, and you would see when he looked his dumbest, they would like, whoop, let's cut off of the split screen, right? Because it was just obvious. And again, what I can't get around, and this is what frustrates me. I would debate you about things. I would debate you about anything. We could fucking argue about what the best toppings are to put in a hamburger. I don't give a shit. I love debating you because it's someone that's equal to me intellectually, that is a good arguer, and it's a challenge. And I get excited because I know I'm going to be better. And I believe that you believe what you're saying. That is the most fundamental thing. I can't get over. Can you name me one left-wing person that you've talked to, anything politically in the past 4 years or even longer, that has said, yeah, you're right, Joe Biden has clear cognitive decline? Every single one I've debated is like, you're full of shit, you're exaggerating, blah, blah, blah. And if you can't see tonight that this is just the nail in the coffin, that they've been fucking lying, or they're so blind that you shouldn't listen to them. And it's so funny to me because I get so pissed off thinking about, it's not really a waste of time because making these dumbasses look stupid is fun in its own
Well,
right.
what they'll do is they'll go back and they'll find every Trump gaffe and they'll say, wait, there was a time when Trump had a cold and he
Right.
performed bad too. And they'll do everything they can to spin it. But no, I don't even think now. Listen, Rob, I don't even think now that they'll acknowledge it. I
Most
don't even
won't.
think
Yeah,
now
most
that they
won't.
will.
Yep. I'm seeing some of it. I'm just going through X looking. I'm seeing Wick kind of was like, yeah, he did shitty. Brianna Wu's like, yeah, it wasn't great. And I haven't seen what many of the pundits said, but I just
Well, the
again,
Democrat war machine hasn't given them their talking points. Listen, what's happened is Brianna Wu's little Twitch buying organization, Progressive Victory, she hasn't got the call from her masters to tell her, hand quotes, what the talking points are supposed to be. So they don't know. They're in the dark. Progressive Victory hasn't told Wick what he's supposed to say. Progressive Victory hasn't told Connor what he's supposed to say. They haven't told any of these people what they're supposed to say yet. But don't worry, they're going to have the spin ready come 6 a.m. in the morning.
yeah, I mean that's absolutely true. And it was similar to the Fetterman debate. One of my favorite things. I'm really important. He's a streamer. Yeah,
Yeah, he's not very important.
he's not very important, and I
He's
think his
not very
politics are
important.
shit. And I don't think he's a good debater. However, he's certainly not the most unlikable person. I'm not here to talk shit on him as an individual. That's not what I'm doing. But I remember someone showed me a clip of his live stream during the Fetterman debate, and his mouth's just agape, and he's like, "Oh no." It was just so cathartic because just to watch these people in real time, and I didn't watch anyone else, but I bet there's some hilarious clips of all the Twitch poll, panels that were tonight of all these lefties. Oh, Biden's gonna hand Trump his ass in real time because they can't, like you said, they can't defend it in real time. So they'll wait for someone smarter than them to come up with the talking point, and then they'll just regurgitate it. And that's exactly right. That's what they'll do.
The progressive progressive victimy mafia will very quickly, okay, come up with some sort of spin and try to get it out there in the narrative about how, no, this wasn't really as bad as you think. If we look at the presidential debate of 1839, one of them fucking had a heart attack on stage. Are you saying that this is worse than having a heart? It'll be some shit like that. It'll be some shit like that,
Yeah.
Rob. I'm telling you, these people have no connection to reality at all. They're low, bottom-feeding, scum-sucking, worthless, progressive cocksuckers.
Yep.
And the truth is that no, they're not. I don't think that they're going to go quietly in the night on Biden. I don't think that they're going to replace him. I don't
We
think that
disagree.
that's-
I think they will replace him.
I don't think so.
But you are right.
I'm not convinced. Listen. Let me amend this. Right?
Okay.
They could. It's possible. Like, I'm not ruling that out as a possibility. They could. I just, I would say 60%. They don't. 60%, maybe higher. They don't replace him because I think that they kind of have this in the bag a little bit, and I think that I know why they think that.
Well, the reason, listen, there's no surprise. I said from the get-go that actually a Biden-Kamala Harris ticket is the perfect modern Democrat ticket. Why? Because Kamala Harris is such sort of a political whore, and I don't mean like sexually, take your own interpretation of that. I just mean that she'll sell out in a moment's notice.
I mean, I mean that.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
But she was criticizing Biden on the debate stage because he was against busing, forced busing. And then the next week she's like, by the way, I'm against forced busing. Once she was told oh, that didn't poll very well. So she doesn't care. Kamala Harris will say, whatever. She locked people up for smoking weed. And now it's a shame that people got locked up for smoking weed. She doesn't care. So she's just, whatever you tell me to say, I will. And Biden is similar, except he's just an empty suit. No one's up home. So ultimately, what that ticket represents is it is an empty vessel for all of the people that were around during Obama to continue to run the show. So is it shocking that there's going to be a huge number of Democrats that say, I don't give a shit if Biden's not mentally there. I don't care anyways. I just hate Trump. I hate Republicans.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll take an empty suit.
If we end up with Harris, who cares, right? Because that's
right.
what she's there for.
Yes.
That's what she's there for. So the thing is like, I don't know. I wouldn't be so quick. They only have to keep this fucking bag of bones, weekends of Bernie styles status, half alive until, November. And then after that, they can throw his fucking carcass to the wolves and they don't give a shit. Right? They don't care. So all they need to do is keep his ass juiced up for a few more months. It's not that long.
And the other thing is, I hope that, listen, I have no love for the bootlicker establishment worshipers that are, willing to take a couple dimes to say what's necessary and to sell out their soul. But as an olive branch to them in some manner, wait until you see what they do to Biden. That's what they'll do to each and every one of you. The thing about these institutionalists is this. Yeah, when you're the communists, it's the same thing with the communists. There is a huge benefit to being a member of the party. You get away with shit with impunity. You live as a higher tier human than all the plebes below you. That's true. But the downside is this. You're only a member of the party as long as you're useful to them. And so everyone eventually runs out of their use, and then they will discard you. And so keep that in mind. All of you bootlickers out there that are like, oh, I don't care. I'll get paid by Progressive Victory to be part of the team. They'll stab you in the back as soon as you're inconvenient to them. At least us on our side, barring some really heinous shit you do, we're okay with that. We're okay with people that disagree with stuff. We're okay with some
they're
fighting.
going to, the thing is that they're going to toe the line on this pretty fucking quick, because now's not the time for division on the Democrat ranks. They need to hold this thing together. And they need to hold it together with as much force as possible, because if there's any cracks now, they have a serious problem. They have a brand new package that they got to sell us come November. They got a brand new narrative that they need to sell us for why it is that the whole country went out and voted for a guy, and you still are claiming that he lost. They're going to have to package this whole new narrative.
Well, that's
and
why
they better have some fucking credibility on their side when they do that.
I know you probably agree with me on this, but I don't know if you agree on this part. I bet you would. I think that they intentionally allowed the 2020 riots to get out of hand to try to hurt Trump. I think they intentionally sabotaged the economy in 2020 to try to hurt Trump. You have to ask yourself this: how far?
There is no such thing as a grassroots campaign at the national level, and there never has been. Not from feminism to Black Lives Matter, not Occupy Wall Street. None of them are truly grassroots. They always have community organizers like what Obama was.
Yep.
And their job is to be professional political agitators. And anybody who's stupid enough to fucking believe for a second that the Black Lives Matter riots that happened, and that's what they were riots, and there were a bunch of looters and lunatics running the street, burning shit down with wild abandon while the Democrats laughed in glee.
Yep.
Anybody who thinks that wasn't organized at the top levels of the DNC is fucking insane. They've essentially admitted it over and over and over again. They take pride in it. We were the ones at the forefront of the BLM riots to make sure that your voices were heard. And of course it was there to discredit Trump.
Yep.
Of course it was.
So you have to ask yourself, if they're willing to do that, what are they not willing to do? Especially now. If they're legitimately afraid that they'll be exposed if Trump wins, what would they be willing to do to make sure he doesn't win? The amount of scandals, cheating, corruption that you're going to see is going to be off the charts. It's going to make 2020 look pale in comparison. But
I said on Twitter, like I said on X, I think they're going to try to throw him in prison.
They'll try to throw him in prison. They might try to have a more permanent solution with him, which I won't.
Yeah, they could.
Or it could be, oh shit, we're in World War III. Whoops, we're in direct conflict with Russia or China.
Yeah, but nothing
that's not
is
off the table,
election,
right?
That's not going to stop.
Oh, it won't stop. That's true.
Trump going to prison and them saying, okay, that creates the viability of a constitutional crisis. The Supreme Court rules, okay, if you're in prison for legitimate felonies, you're no longer eligible to be president of the United States because you don't fall under the clause of in good character. So that's what that clause would mean, right? You have to be of good character. That's all that they would have to rule, and that's it. Constitutional crisis averted, right?
Yeah, it's like you said, the best news is, and I implore the people, look, I'm not saying that there weren't all sorts of election shenanigans that happened in 2020. There were also things that aren't necessarily like cheating at the ballot box, just like collusion of manipulation of algorithms, censorship of people, intel agencies leaking stories or discrediting all of that shit.
The fucking media came out and said that they colluded to stop Trump, and that's a good thing.
Right, exactly.
They said that they colluded to do it. It's the most ridiculous shit ever, and the whistleblowers in the media said, look, we did everything that we could possibly do, every dirty, sneaky fucking trick that was possible, even legal or not, they didn't care.
Yeah,
what mattered was that they had to save the nation, Rob.
That's right.
They had to save the nation.
And that's the way these people feel. Trump is such a morally repugnant person that even when I debate conservatives or centrists like Connor, that's his position. Trump is so loathsome. Okay, we had to cheat a little to stop him. That's okay. You know, that's their position. So I just want to be clear, though. There are people that are black-pilled that are like, well, they'll just cheat again. What's the sense of even getting out there and voting? Because of what Andrew just said. The cheating now has to be even more epic. Because you can't put this cat back in the bag of people that saw Biden tonight. So there's only one way forward, and that's for them to say, come hell or high water, we got to do what we can to fortify the election. And if they have to fortify 1%, it's going to be a 49 to 50% election. That's one thing. But if it's going to be like 30 to 70, that's a whole different level of fortification that's going to be necessary.
Much worse problem. Well, look, Rob, I got to get rolling. I appreciate you letting me have you.
Anytime.
Having me on.
Anytime. We'll talk soon, man. Thank you so much, Andrew. And for those that don't know, please follow Andrew Wilson on The Crucible, which is the channel he runs. Please support him there. And check out Tenet Media, where Andrew debated Richard Spencer on Tim Pool's show the other day.